There's a new favorite to win the ACC, and really, it's the only team that looked convincing in week one.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. They fix tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. So we're going to talk about what was mostly not a very good week one for ACC football, right? There were some games that shouldn't have been as close as they were. There was a game where you had a 2-touchdown favorite lose in overtime. And we are going to identify the good, the bad, and the ugly from week one in the ACC. I am Alex Donno alongside Kenton Gibbs. I'm from Locked On Canes. He's from Locked On Wolfpack. And so, Kenton, obviously I've got a little pep in my step after the demolition that the Miami Hurricanes put on the Florida Gators. Because I kept it, maybe I talked too much to Brandon Olson from Locked On Gators, because I kept hearing Cam Ward is not any good. Miami's defensive secondary is terrible, and they're gonna get exposed, and that they can't handle the environment of the swamp. Instead, Mario Cristobal's team got away with a 41-17 butt kicking in Gainesville. So I'm doing well today. How are you?
Look at Donno with his little smug little smile. Look at him with the little, my team's the only ACC team that look good. But you know what? When you put a shellacking on somebody like that, you deserve it. You deserve to feel how you want to feel. Week one, only winner against the SEC, and its a rival. That's the trifecta right there. If you play college football 25, that's your ideal pitch right there. So, Donno, you got every right to come on TV. You got every right to come on there, looking how you look, feeling how you feel, because you deserve it. Cam Ward showed something. Miami showed something. The defensive back showed something. The defensive line showed what we all knew. Apparently, all of the ACC defensive lines aren't liars, because I'll tell you what, did Florida not have problems with Hurricane Bane? Did they not have problems with Ezador? Did they not have problems moving the ball at all against this team until Lagway got in and the game was over? So You deserve to take your victory lap, Donno. You deserve to have your moment in the sun, to hit your little pony up there, to hit whatever you want to hit. I know Miami like to celebrate so much that they basically rewrote the rule book to stop Miami from celebrating. But damn it, today's your day, Donno. Go ahead, live it up.
My voice still hasn't fully. I've been very hoarse since Saturday evening with all the yelling and all the talking I've been doing. So I'm just recovering. But the first thing, there were a lot of questions. And listen, even I had some questions as to how a team with a lot of important transfers would handle a road environment like Gainesville. And I did say repeatedly leading up to that game, I thought Miami would need to score first and score early to deflate that crowd just a little bit. And lo and behold, first offensive drive from Miami, 11 plays, 84 yards, and a touchdown pass from Cam Ward to the 28-year-old tight end Cam McCormick to open up the scoring in the game. And so there definitely needs to be a conversation about Cam Ward, who had a stellar debut. So Ward actually, from what we can tell, because, the recorded statistics only go back so far, but we think Cam Ward actually set a Miami record in most passing yards in a Hurricanes debut as starting quarterback with 385 passing yards. He completed 74% of his passes, and this wasn't like the Graham Mertz dink and dunk sort of stuff. 298 of his 385 passing yards were on throws that went for 15 or more yards. Some of those were air yards, some of that was yak, but those were, big plays he was putting on the field. And, it wasn't a perfect day for Ward, Kenton, because he did throw a first quarter interception. It was one of those plays that, you've seen Cam do that at Washington State, where he tries to play hero ball a little bit. Yeah. He was rolling to the left, threw across his body, tip ball, was intercepted. But what I really appreciated was the way he responded from that, because after throwing that interception, now I've got a little TVD PTSD with, Miami's former starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, where usually, when the previous Hurricane starter would throw an interception, you're thinking, first quarter interception, there's at least 2 more of those coming up, right? Ward responded from that interception like a professional, and he was even sharper as the game went on. And then, not just Ward, but the entire team, Kenton, because again, I kept hearing about, how are they going to handle that crowd noise and 93,000? Ward actually said after the game that there was more noise in Miami's practices during the week. Like they had the speakers just blasting, artificial crowd noise to simulate it. So it seemed like Miami was very well prepared for that atmosphere. So I will say a job well done to Miami's coaching staff, because apparently whatever noise they had to deal with in practice was, they said, louder than what they had to deal with at the Swamp.
You know what'll kill crowd noise? Touchdowns. You know what'll kill crowd noise? A big deficit early. That'll kill it. That'll do it. And I'll tell you what. You know what else will kill crowd noise? Letting a tight end from 3 presidents ago. I'm sorry. Currently 2 presidents ago. Guys, that young man, McCormick, Obama was in office. Okay? Obama was in office when he started his college career. And that is the young man that you let score the first touchdown. That Florida team ought to be embarrassing themselves. But back to Miami. I'll tell you what. Cam Ward gave us the full Cam Ward experience, right? You had the play where you're like, oh, he did too much. But then you saw the brilliance. You saw him put on what looked like a masterclass through the air, and he decided to even give us a little bit of a show with his legs on the ground. And he's got that ability to where he's so cool and so calm. It doesn't look like he's trying hard when he's running in the open field sometimes. There were multiple runs where it's like, is he jogging or is he sprinting?
There were a couple plays where it's like, could he have maybe picked up a couple more yards?
Yeah.
Like his demeanor, he was as calm like as I am when I'm waiting in the checkout line at CVS. Like it was how calm he was. Crazy.
Well, playing against LinkedIn / Locked On Billy will do that to you. But in all seriousness, I'm glad that he protected himself, because the only critique I walk away from this game with, the decision making by your boy Mario Cristobal. I get it. You wanted to get him to 400 passing yards or whatever the case may have been. Why was Cam Ward throwing the ball up 3 to 4 touchdowns with under 5 minutes left? What are you doing?
Might have just been the humiliation factor for Florida, but I get it, because more dropbacks, more risk for taking a sack and potentially getting it. I'm with you. I can remember in that fourth quarter. Yeah, I can remember thinking maybe it's time to bring Emory Williams on, the backup quarterback.
And not only that, you've already embarrassed them. The Swamp is empty. The 93,000 people that were there. Donno, you were at that game, correct?
So I was in Gainesville. By that time, I had left the stadium so I could do post game from a different location. But yes.
And you saw people filing out at halftime. At halftime, folks were filing. You've embarrassed them. Your rival had people leaving because they were like, "Oh no, man, this is embarrassing." At half, you did your job. You won. Once the game is away, I'm not even mad at him still being in the game. I understand that. Why is he throwing the ball? He took a hit late where I was just like, now, if that was the one where something goes, all of a sudden, you're being called the biggest idiot on planet. Where is the clock management coach? Where is he at? Is he? Hey, Mario.
Well, the clock management was not a problem. So I think the clock management coach.
No. I'm saying from a standpoint of you've got to be situationally aware. I'm joking, of course, because the clock management coach ain't responsible for this. But you've got to be situationally aware to know. Okay. So if we get the ball and if we have three and outs straight, where all we do is run the ball, drive out, let's say 40 seconds per play, which would equal what? About 2 minutes per drive, just about. Yeah. Okay. It's 5 minutes left. We have enough time for that. We have enough time to kill it like that, But again, that is a very nitpicky thing, but it is another decision by Mario where you're looking up saying what's going on there. But again, phenomenal performance, fantastic performance. That's me being nitpicky. All in all, that team looked dominant and amazing.
Yeah, and it's like obviously like anything you bring up after a 41-17 win is going to feel nitpicky. However, I can understand it because I'm a big fan of Cam Ward as both the quarterback and a human being. So when it comes to keeping him protected, I can respect that critique. All right, I can respect it. But it was a very good performance from Miami. There were some pretty good performances in the ACC, including an individual performance of brilliance from a receiver on the NC State Wolfpack, who it's like, dude, it is one of my favorite players in the conference. That was very good from KC Concepcion. We'll talk about it. There was also some bad, like a Hokies team favored by 13.5 points that did that in Vanderbilt, I should say, in Nashville. And then there was whatever that was from the Clemson Tigers offense. That was the ugly. We're going to talk all about it on this episode of Locked On ACC. We're only getting started. You want to keep it locked. And I'm only getting started with 5 Hour Energy. Guys, with all this excitement of week 1, I haven't slept in like a week. So how do I have this much energy? 5 Hour Energy. You get tired after lunch, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5 Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use our promo code, LOCKEDONCFB, to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid till September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. Folks, make sure for your next listen, you check out the other awesome shows that Kenton and I do. He co-hosts Locked On Wolfpack, talking everything NC State. I host Locked On Canes, talking everything Miami. And it's been a fun last couple of days. Hopefully that ride continues throughout the season because it's a marathon, right? One game does not make an entire season. So, Kenton, again, I'm not putting this one in the bad or the ugly category when it comes to NC State's fourth quarter surge against Western Carolina. I think we were both expecting, though, 4 quarters of dominance rather than 1 quarter of dominance. And yes, 3 touchdown performance from KC Concepcion was brilliant, and he is a problem for every team on NC State's schedule. But how did you feel about the entirety of those 4 quarters?
So let me say this, and I know some people are going to say this as you use your Homer glasses, but trust me, go listen to Locked On Wolfpack. I read them their rights after the game, and listen to the episode that'll release at the same time as this one, because I'm not done yet. But with that being said, Western Carolina came away with a first quarter lead of 14-7. The rest of that game, NC State won 31-7. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying that NC State played a good 4 quarters. They played a complete game. I am not saying that. But I am saying that their struggles feel a little bit overblown because of the expectations around that team, which is fair. I'm a firm believer in the worst thing you can be in this world is a man with no expectations. Things are expected of NC State now. There was an expectation of a 4-quarter domination, which did not happen outside of a young man by the name of Kevin Concepcion, but I want to extend it. If you watch that game, the entire receiving corps was running open all night long. I have the same concerns about NC State that I have about Florida State because what was supposed to be your strength is looking like a weakness. The running game not getting going in the way that people thought it would, whatever. That's fine. NC State's running game has always had some funky things going on outside of back when they had Ricky Persons and Bam Knight. And to go back further than that, Gillespie and Days and company. That was the best that the running game was. But my problem with that offense is the strength was supposed to be you have a quarterback that's going to be on time, on target. In that first half, Grayson McCall was neither one of those things. He was neither one. And out route being intercepted because you threw it about 5 feet wide of the receiver. Is you cool? Are you okay? What's going on there? Like it was a little bit disappointing there, but they ultimately did get it together. And I'll tell you, KC was on the receiving end of a ton of really, really great moments, and he was making things happen with the ball in his hands. But listen to Tom Luginbill talk about that game and how things went down. And there was just, in that game, Grayson McCall was much maligned, and rightfully so. Because if he hits all of those receivers in stride, Keenan Jackson was going to go bang his head on the goalpost on the bang 8. You had a moment. You had a moment where Noah Rogers, if you hit him on an in route in stride, he goes for 6. You had a moment with Wesley Grimes where the same thing had happened. And Dakari Collins his releases have gotten exponentially better from last year because any quarter that thought about pressing him, congratulations, the press didn't work. It wasn't there. So I'm looking at this squad and I'm saying, and I didn't even talk about Joe Lee, who showed why he was the tackle breaking his tight end in America last year with a juke move. That juke move hurt my ankles. I'm sitting at home and I said, boy, that's intense. So I'm disappointed there, but I want to say I believe this team can get it turned around. It's always better to learn a lesson in a win than a loss.
Yeah. No, that is 1,000% accurate. And so, I didn't. I wanted to talk a little bit about that game. I don't put that in the bad or the ugly category.
No.
Here's the one that I put into the bad category. Virginia Tech. Okay, so they let Vanderbilt enjoy a 17-point lead. Now they did erase that 17-point deficit, get the game to overtime. Unfortunately, Kyron Drones was cramping in the OT. He had to be replaced. And Diego Pavia, the starting quarterback, who, we owe Corey Burton an apology. So we did a crossover late last week with the host of Locked On Vandy. And you and I were both like, yeah, Virginia Tech's definitely going to win. They're probably going to cover the 13.5-point spread. They did neither of those things. Vandy with the clutch overtime win at home. And, this looks like I was talking with Corey over the weekend, and he told me this is really like the best that they feel about it. And again, I know this is all just one game, but that was a big win for Vandy. This is like the best that they're feeling there about the character of their team since James Franklin was coaching there, that they're really, really getting bullish on how this build is going. But from the Virginia Tech point of view, anytime you miss an opportunity to beat an SEC opponent, especially one you were absolutely supposed to beat. The Hokies, and we were very high on the Hokies heading into the season, Kenton, and obviously they still have all their ACC games in front of them, but this is a huge step backwards.
This told me that this Virginia Tech team is not ready. They're not ready for the big moment. They're not ready for primetime because you're not ready for the little moments. Primetime games are not built in that primetime moment. Primetime games are built because your team is 5-0, 6-0, 5-1, 8-1, whatever the case may be, late in the season because they took care of business against lesser opponents. This Virginia Tech team is not ready for that. I saw a team in an unfinished stadium that still had construction going on. No atmosphere whatsoever. Donno, me and you have been louder in this episode than Vanderbilt fans were during that damn game.
Especially you. I barely have a voice left today, but you're carrying me.
And somehow, Kyron Drones struggles to get beyond his first read in the first half. What? You're getting pushed around up front offensively and defensively. And all the Virginia Tech fans said that I was overselling how bad they were against the run. I am so disappointed in that Virginia Tech team because you made a fool of me nationally. In the words of Shannon Sharp, I want my restitution. I sat up there on college football, on Locked On College Football, that said Virginia Tech is a team to watch. They're a team to watch out for because Kyron Drones is who he is, because that defensive backfield is so special, because this is a team returning all that production. And you go and lay an egg in Nashville? I could see if you at Old Rocky Top, Tennessee, and you led there. Hey,
Sure. Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. That's a good team. They got a top 10 pick over there, probably 2 in Nico and Pierce. Hey, I get it.
Yeah.
That Vanderbilt team is filled with accountants, lawyers, and doctors. Those young men are going to have to get their LinkedIn ready after they're done in a year or so.
Some of them will probably be executives at LinkedIn.
Executives, yes. Yeah, they'll be doing business development and selling us ads at LinkedIn. Yeah. And you lose to them. Disappointing, nasty, and on most weeks, Virginia Tech, you would get the ugly. You better thank your lucky stars that there's a man down in South Carolina that's so bullish on his offense, he brought in a star in the coaching ranks just to keep up the foolishness and the tomfoolery. You're lucky, Virginia Tech.
I'll tell you, Garrett, he might be on LinkedIn pretty soon, and we're going to talk about, because listen, Virginia Tech was the bad, Clemson was the ugly. We're going to break it down right here. You want to keep it locked on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. We're not done yet. Folks, we've been playing this game now since before college football season even started, and I am addicted to Ultimate College Football HC. Let's talk about this brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of your favorite ACC team? From recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. And here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but it's also going to shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want to and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On ACC fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk, as it's going to get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. Folks, make sure you're checking out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does an awesome job. He's had plenty to talk about. And by the way, Spencer, we were texting with Spencer during that Virginia Tech game, because I think like us, and especially like you, because you were even more bullish on the Hokies, I think, than I was in that specific Vandy game. Spencer was like, man, Virginia Tech they better come back or we're all going to sound like morons. And so, yeah, I guess the Hokies didn't do us any favors, but even worse now, I got to be careful with the way that I set up this Clemson loss. Georgia 34-3 against Clemson. Kenton, in no way, shape, or form did either of us think Clemson was going to win the football game, right? I mean, they're going up against arguably the best team in the entire country. I mean, Georgia is absolutely stacked. We knew there would be a talent discrepancy. We expected Georgia to win and potentially win big. But what I take issue with, and you hinted at this, just the offensive ineptitude by the Clemson Tigers. Now, I thought, hey, when they were down 6-0 at halftime, I thought, you know what? That's not a terrible spot to be in, because you're right there with the most talented team in the country. But the offense never got going for Clemson. 188 yards of total offense, 3 points, which means 0 touchdowns put on the scoreboard. We were supposed to see some sort of an improvement and some sort of an evolution from that, in theory, very well coached offense by Garrett Riley and, a Cade Klubnik who struggled last year, but hey, heading into another year of continuity in that offense, we should have gotten more than what we saw from the Tigers on Saturday.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to touch the viewership shoulders, particularly those in South Carolina. Donno may not have seen this coming. I did. I knew exactly what was on the way. Because Cade Klubnik is not good at playing football. Let's start there. Let's move forward. Actually, let me rewind. Dabo Swinney is not good at putting together offensive game plans in college football. His game plan relies on his guys being so much more talented than everybody else that it works out regardless, which works when you're playing Boston College. Sure.
Right. Well, it worked in 2019 when we were at a level playing field talent-wise.
Yeah, it worked when it worked. Travis Etienne ain't walking through that door. Trevor Lawrence ain't walking through that door. Deshaun Watson, thank God, ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry to tell you. I don't understand how people are confused by this, because there's everything in this game happened the exact way that I thought it would. Donno, who was the receiver for their longest play of the game?
Ooh,
don't worry, I got the answer. It was Williams, the guy that I said is the only the only game changer on that squad. Donno, how did Maffa look as the lead back? Did he look good? Did he do anything
as you
special?
predicted? No, he did not. Longest carry of 9, 3.7 yards per carry, very pedestrian.
And I know the excuse is going to be, that's Georgia. They're going to do that to everybody this year. I am willing to bet $1 to your dime that over half the teams that they play score a touchdown against them, a singular touchdown, or at least 2 field goals. At least 2 field goals. This team struggled to cross the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
What foolishness. What an embarrassment. Please. And here's the thing that blows me the worst about this, and I hate to take it back here to off the field, because we now have on the field stuff going on. But Clemson fans were saying, well, this game shows why they need to be in the SEC, because when they get more money, they'll be better and more equipped to keep up.
Right.
Florida State lost to Georgia Tech. Does Florida State need more money to beat Georgia Tech? Is Georgia Tech reigning over them in terms of finances, Donno?
No, they are not.
If we were to quantify the money discrepancy from school to school, is Georgia's 31 point, if we were to break it down and say, hey, the average score based on how many millions you spend, you think the difference between Clemson and Georgia right now would equal 30 some odd points? I'll tell you what. Dabo knew what he was doing. I told everybody he knows what he's doing in blocking those callers. He knows what he's doing because he knows what he has coming. He knows what's coming down the pipe. And look what happened. What a disappointment. They put on the worst show, embarrassed the ACC nationally with that performance. Terrible, useless, feckless. That's what that offense is right now. And if they don't get it together, like I predicted to start this thing off, we have a 9-win or worse season incoming out of South Carolina.
Yeah. By the way, teams that are suing the ACC are winless so far this season. They're 0 for 2. Well, we'll see what happens Monday night with Florida State and Boston College. And also, like, to add some context to what you're saying, here's why that Clemson performance, and again, I wasn't expecting a win, but that Clemson performance was a little disheartening to me, because entering the weekend, Clemson were the betting favorites to win the conference. Miami now is, right? But Clemson were the favorites to win the ACC heading into the weekend. And so what is disheartening is, because there seemed to be less of a separation last season based on the head-to-head records, ACC versus SEC. But you're telling me the team that is favored to win the SEC, that's Georgia, is really 31 points and that many yards better than the team that was favored to win the ACC. That's why that was Clemson gave the entire conference a bad look on Saturday. No question about it.
Yes, a very black eye. And again, when you look at that game and how it transpired, Clemson didn't look like they were a terrible team the entire game. So let's give them credit. First half, they fought the good fight, hung around. I believe that at halftime there was a 6-point deficit or something along those lines.
6-0.
Yeah, it was 6-0. That's what I'm saying. They hung around. Yeah. They need to be as serious about their offense as they are about their defense.
Bingo.
Period. The defense has evolved. The defense has gone from what Brent Venables was running to something new and different, and they continue to be competitive defensively. But guess what? Your defense can only do but so much, baby. Your defense cannot, and I'm going to tell you, one of the worst signs that your defense is they're set to start crumbling is when coaches are saying things like this in meetings. Well, if the offense ain't going to score, we got to score for them. What?
Yeah, that's never good.
That's a risky proposition defensively. That means involving a level of risk that should not exist. So with that in mind, this Clemson team is unserious and will be unserious until Dabo decides to do something about that offense. Point blank period. Point blank period. Let Garrett Riley cook. I saw the same quarterback counter and that little quarterback delay draw thing that we've seen from them, draw/power thing that we've seen a billion times, and it never works. It never works if you don't have a generational quarterback back there. Cade Klubnik is not only not generational, he's not even year-old. He's not even the best quarterback. He's not even a quarterback. You're like, oh, we won't see another him for 3 months. Yes, you will. Go to almost any high school football game, and you'll see a guy look just like that. So, man. It is disappointing how bad the performance was from Clemson's offense in particular, because defensively, they did what they were supposed to do, but you can only hold on for so long when you continue to give the ball back to a potential first-round quarterback, to an offensive line that's loaded with draft picks, to a receiver room that's young but coming along. There's only so long you can contain those guys.
Well, we've said a lot, and the next time we chat, we'll be talking about a pivotal conference battle. I know Florida State are hefty favorites against Boston College. You have to wonder, is another letdown in store? And we're going to be seeing BC for the first time. So we'll have a lot to say the next time we talk to you guys. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. We'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.